why I left the UFC and went and signed with Bellator. That's the story for today, and let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Myles, and today I want to answer your question. A lot of people have been asking, Myles, why did you leave UFC? Myles, why aren't you fighting in the UFC? What made you go to Bellator? And these are all great questions, and I wasn't really going to touch on this subject, but since my YouTube fan wants it, I'm going to do it. And today we're going to answer that question, why I left UFC to go sign with Bellator. Now, I've had 14 plus fights in the UFC. I was on 2 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, shout out Ultimate Fighter 12, and I had a lot of great experiences with them. I came up in the UFC, I built a name for myself, I was able to use my fight proceeds to start investing and build a life for me and my family. So I'm super, super grateful for the UFC, and without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But just like anything else in life, things change, sometimes people go their own ways, and that's what happened with me and the UFC. You know, business to business, they had to make their business decision, and I had to make my own business decision. You know, fighting is basically, I'm my own business. This is the business of Myles Jury, Myles Fury Jury. Last year, I announced that I left UFC and I signed with Bellator, and now that's my home and that's where I'm fighting. I signed a 4-fight contract with Bellator, and I'm halfway through it, and I'm excited to be signed up with a great organization like them. Although I'm with Bellator now, a part of me will always feel at home with the UFC. I have friends that fight there. I'm gonna go corner friends in the UFC. I'll probably run into Dana, Sean Shelby, all those guys, and there's honestly no bad blood at all. I understand business, and that's one thing I've learned over these past couple of years, is there's personal and then there's business. And UFC is in the game of a business. Now, for me, I had to learn over these last 7-8 years of being in the game, being in the MMA game, that I have to look at myself as a business, and I have to make decisions based on what's best for me and my family. And leaving the UFC, it is in my best interest, and I'm going to explain why. The very first reason why I left the UFC is because they didn't smash that like button and they never subscribed to this YouTube channel. It really made me mad, and I was just like, man, I'm out of here. So I actually want to take a second and just let the UFC smash that like button and that subscribe button. I'll wait. The first reason why I left the UFC is more money. I mean, at the end of the day, this game is a business. I have to feed my family. I have to set up for my future. I have no backup plan. You know, I'm a fighter. I have no college degree. I have no trust fund. I don't have anything financially, and everything that I have, I've gotten off of fighting. So over the years, I've had to learn that, hey, at the end of the day, I love what I do. I fight for intrinsic reasons, but a big reason why I fight and who I'm signed with is for the money. I mean, let's face it. Maybe you're in a business of your own. Maybe you have a restaurant, or whatever business you're in. You have to understand at the end of the day, you have to keep the lights on. And on top of that, you have to take care of yourself. You got shelter, you got food, clothing, all these things that you have to pay for. And at the end of the day, you got to make money to pay for them. And it's no difference with me and being in the UFC. I have to make as much money as I can. I have a short window for fighting. It's literally 5 to 10 years, compared to regular careers that you can do all the way up until you're 65. I cannot fight when I'm 65. I cannot fight when I'm 50, let alone 45. So the money that I make now, I have to make as much as I can, and I have to actually put it in great investments like real estate or my own part-time business. So money is a big reason why I left UFC. UFC really didn't want to pay me any more money from where I was at in my contract. Granted, I was coming off of a couple of losses, but they really didn't want to pay me any more money even before that. Now, Bellator, on the other hand, they offered me a 20% increase in my pay, show and win. And on top of that, they threw me a $20,000 bonus. So that is a good reason and a good motivation for me to go with Bellator. Because at the end of the day, I'm making more money. I'm being able to provide a better life for me, my son, my wife. At the end of the day, this is a business, remember? And I want to make sure my business is taken care of as much and as great as it can be financially. So that is a big reason why I went to Bellator, because they're going to pay me more money. Let me know. Drop a comment. Would you fight in the UFC for less money or Bellator for more money? Which one would you choose? Does money really interest you if you were a fighter? Or maybe you're in the business of not making money. Maybe you're just doing a hobby. I don't know. Let me know. Drop a comment. Another reason why I went to Bellator is because they were wanting to promote me more. They were wanting to give me better opportunities. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, being in the UFC, there's a huge roster, and there was a lot of guys that I felt like UFC was pushing and promoting more and giving them more opportunities for whatever reason that UFC wanted to do it. I can sit back and say, different things. Maybe it was because I didn't win a fight the best way, or maybe it was because I'm not as marketable as this guy. Whatever the case is, that doesn't matter. What matters is that I felt like UFC was giving a lot more opportunities to guys that I felt like I should have gotten those opportunities. Now with Bellator, I felt like my first fight, they were offering to put me in a main event. I've had 14 fights with UFC and I've never once been offered a main event slot. So that to me was a huge showing from Bellator, like, hey, we want to put you right out there. We want you to be one of our number one guys. We want to market you. We want to give you that main event slot. And on top of that, they threw me extra money for that main event slot. So I was just like, man, I'm not getting any main event slot over here. I'm getting less money. And why am I going to do that to myself? I've already been with the UFC for 14 plus fights. I don't see like we're really going anywhere. And I want to get better opportunities. I want to get better money. And Bellator was really offering that. So that right there, those better opportunities for my fight, kind of was a no-brainer. I mean, again, I'm trying to get a world title. I'm trying to make as much money as I can in this game. And if they're going to give me main event slots, they're going to throw me extra money, they're going to give me bonuses, that fits up with everything that I'm trying to do. And that's a big reason why I love Bellator. I feel like Bellator needs fighters like me more. UFC has so many guys just trying to sign up with them just because it is a household name, right? It's the NFL. And they have a list of guys lining up out the door that'll actually probably fight for free. I mean, let's face it. I remember when I was coming up, my first fight in the UFC, I would have done it for $3 or $4 grand. So if you fast forward now, I'm in a position where I'm not willing to fight for free. I want actually to make money. I've had 14 plus fights here. I've proven myself as a company man. I've fought, number one contenders. I've had knockouts. I've had submissions. I've been on win streaks. I've gotten bonuses. I've basically done everything I could do in the UFC besides fighting for a title and winning a world title. And at the end of the day, I have to make as much money and get the best opportunities that I can. And I really feel like UFC really didn't want to do that with me. With Bellator, I felt like they needed me a little more. That's a big thing in business. You want to be in a position where you're wanted and you're needed. And I really felt like with UFC, they didn't really need me or they didn't really want me. And I could feel it, you know what I mean? Just by the way, fights were offered, anything about contracts, just the way, they were working. With Bellator, on the other hand, they were like, hey, we want to give you this opportunity. We want you to fight Benson Henderson, main event, your first fight in Dublin, Ireland. It was just a great experience. It really was. It was a great opportunity. And I really wanted to jump on that, and that really persuaded me to get signed with Bellator. Bellator also has a different group of fighters, right? For me, besides money and business, I want to compete and I want to be in there with great fighters, great warriors. And Bellator has a whole new crop of guys for me to fight. Guys like Benson Henderson, guys like Brandon Gertz that I just beat. These are guys that I wouldn't be able to fight in the UFC. So that was a big thing. Being with the UFC for 7 years, I felt like it was kind of getting stale. Even though they had a lot of guys coming and going, I kind of knew over the last 7 years, like, man, I'll be matched up with this guy or that guy. And when I had the opportunity to go to Bellator, it was like a whole new list of opponents, a whole new list of challenges. And where I'm at in my career, I was like, man, that motivates me. That actually helps get me out of bed. And that's what I wanted. So that actually persuaded me more and more to actually go to Bellator and get signed up with them and start beating some guys' butts. Beating some guys' butts? Beating some guys' butts? Yeah, I just said that. Another big reason why I left UFC is because they didn't want to give me my last fight on my contract. This is a big reason. And at the end of the day, UFC has all the control. They can keep you as long as they want, and they can, release you whenever they want. And after I lost to Chad Mendez and I lost a decision to Andre Fili, UFC just basically sat around for 6 months. We were talking about getting another fight. And they, at the end of the day, after about 6 months, they just told my manager that they didn't want to give me my last fight on my contract. And that left me in a position to be a free agent. I really think that I deserved still another fight because I was on a 2-fight win streak before that. I lost 2 rounds to 1 against Feely, who's actually an underrated, very tough guy. And then I lost to Chad Mendez, in that first round. I really think that fight could have gone a little bit longer, but I shouldn't have put myself in that situation to have the ref step in. But at the end of the day, those were 2 losses, but they were 2 very, very tough guys. And I really think that I deserved a 3rd fight. But again, it's business, it's not personal. UFC had to make a choice to say, hey, we don't want to give you that fight, Myles. And it's like a blessing in disguise, though, because it left me in a position to be a free agent. And with free agency brings other opportunities. And I haven't been in a free agency in 7+ years. So it was actually beautiful to be a free agent because immediately Bellator called and was like, hey, we want to get you signed up. We want you to come with us. They gave me a pay increase. They gave me a bonus for signing. They gave me a main event slot off the top. And they're showing that they want me to be a big part of their company. And that's what I want. I want to be in a company that, I don't need anybody to take care of me. I'm not looking for handouts or anything like that. I'm willing to work and earn whatever I get. But at the end of the day, I definitely don't want to be in a company that I feel like I'm not needed or I'm not wanted. Like I'm expendable. And that's a big reason why once I signed up with Bellator and I've been here right now, it's actually a better feeling because I just really feel like they want me here. They want me to be a part of the company. They want to put some time. They want to put some effort into me. And man, I'm super happy and I'm super lucky that even though I didn't get my last fight with the UFC, that I was actually able to springboard that into more money, more better opportunities, and be signed up with a great organization like Bellator. It was time for a change. I had a lot of great experiences with the UFC that I'll never forget. I'm super grateful for Dana White and the UFC for giving me an opportunity to showcase my skills in front of the whole world, to be able to go out there and entertain fans across the world on ESPN, on Fox, on FX, on The Ultimate Fighter. And I've had some of the best times of my life being signed with the UFC. And who knows? I have a couple more fights on my contract. Maybe I'll be back signed with them. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But at the end of the day, where my life was at a year ago, it was time for a change. It was time for an opportunity for me to step forward and make more money, get better opportunities, take care of myself, take care of my family, and be in a position that I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm not looking to point fingers. I'm taking responsibility. Life does what it does, and I'm just adjusting to that. And thank God that with leaving the UFC, it opened up better doors, better opportunities for me that I wouldn't have got if I would have stayed there. One more thing that I really just wanted to say before we end this video is that I've thought for the longest time, and I felt for the longest time, being signed with the UFC, that my image was so attached to them that if I was ever leave, that I wouldn't be worth anything, right? I really did. And now that I'm not with them and I'm signed with a different organization, I realize that I'm okay. Everything's fine. I don't need UFC to be happy. I don't need UFC to be successful. And at the end of the day, I'm just happy that through this whole process, this whole change, that I realize that my image is not connected to them, that I'm not successful just because of UFC. I'm successful because of my skills, my work ethic, and my tenacity to go out there and beat top-level guys over and over again. So thank you, God, for pointing me out in this right direction. And thank you to the UFC, to the Bellator, and to my YouTube fam for actually asking this question and making me get a little more vulnerable and dig a little deeper and explain it to you guys in front of the world and in front of this camera. So it's actually easier for me to sit in front of a camera and talk about it than it would be to get out in front of, person to person, because I can get a little more deeper, a little more vulnerable here for you guys. So that's it. That's why I left the UFC, and that's why I'm currently signed with Bellator. Making more money, better opportunities, and it's just better all around for the Myles jury, the Myles Fury jury business. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your reactions. Would you have stayed with the UFC? Would you go somewhere else for more money? I want to know. Make sure to drop a comment below. And until next time.